Hello lovely people, I'm Catherine if you're new here, and if you've been with me through the year, hello, you know who I am already. In this video I'm going to tell you about the projects that I've planned for 2025. I've mentioned them here and there, you know, while I've been doing the stitching and so on, but I thought if I just put all the details here in one place in a relatively short video, hopefully that's helpful. But before I get into that, I do have to sorry, just crossing my knee because the journals are heavy on my knee. I have to talk about Kofi, which makes me a little bit uncomfortable because I was brought up that it's, you know, impolite to mention money. But yes, I have to talk about Kofi for two reasons. Well, the first is to explain what Kofi is, because I mention it very rarely, I think. But there's always somebody in the comments asking, what is Kofi? Kofi is a platform completely separate to YouTube, whereby you can support creators by either a one-off donation or a monthly pledge. Now the minimum on my Kofi is $5, and I put it in dollars because that's the recommendation. Sorry, I'm going to have a sip of tea. Why does it make me so anxious? Yes, because that's the recommendation from Kofi, that you put the currency in the country where most of your supporters are, and most of my supporters are in the US. But if you're not in the US, that $5 will obviously be translated into your own currency. You pay either using PayPal or something called Stripe, where you can pay using a credit card or from your bank account. And that's the main reason I have to talk about it, because I have to change my Stripe account. So if you support me monthly by Stripe, you are the people that will be affected. Everybody else is unaffected. You may find that your subscription is cancelled, so you'll have to reinstate it. If you would like to, of course, there's no obligation. So if you get a message from Kofi in the coming days, and you're you know, someone who supports me monthly, then you'll get a message, possibly, I'm pretty sure, it's quite hard to find out, saying that your subscription is cancelled because the Stripe account has to change. So many apologies for the trouble that will cause. I can't do anything about it. I've tried, I've been through Kofi Help and, you know, live chats with them and all that, but that's how it has to be. And the other thing is to just say thank you so much if you are someone who's been supporting me and is supporting me through Kofi. It's meant so much. It's, you know, it enables me to carry on making the videos and keep this channel going, rather than having to go out and get a job, basically, because now I'm alone. And now I do feel like I've got my begging bowl out. But anyway, so just to be clear, it's only the people who support me monthly using Stripe. If you use PayPal or if you do occasional one-off donations, you're not affected. It's only the monthly via Stripe people. So yeah, like I say, many apologies for the trouble that will cause, and I hope you will resubscribe, because yeah, it means a lot to me. Okay, that's done. I can stop blushing now and talk about next year, which is lovely and exciting. So next year I've got 3 projects. There will be 3 weekly projects. Well, actually 2 weekly and 1 fortnightly. Park Home Life will continue unchanged every other week. The in-between weeks, when there's no Park Home Life, on the Friday, that will stay on the Friday, the slow journaling project will continue. And this is my slow journal, as it is at the moment, still just, you know, loose pages wrapped in the cover. Now this I call an art journal. And I've had a few questions about what is it for, what's the purpose of this journal, because an art journal is many things to many people. It can be a journal you create in order to, you know, sketch in or draw in or put your own art in, or in my case, this is a journal that is, to me, a creative expression of art in itself, if that makes sense. So my art journals always have a theme, like my Forager's Journal. If you have been here for a while, you'll know my Forager's Journal. I've also made other journals. I don't have any here anymore because lovely people have bought them to show you. But I had Metamorphosis, which I made in the summer. I had a fairy journal, you know, all different themes. So the theme of this journal that's emerging for me is bravery. But so if you're following along with that project and you're someone who's been asking me about what's it for, it's just for the joy of creating it. It's a piece of art in its own right. But if you want to create it and then use it as a journal for writing and whatever, you know, you do you, as always. But that, to me, is what an art journal is. It's just an art object in and of itself. So that will be every other Friday, slow journaling. I hope that is clear. If you have any questions at all, just pop them down in the comments. Don't ask me when it will be finished, because I don't know. It's slow journaling, it's process focused, you know, it's taking from the ethos of slow stitching and applying that to journaling. So we're just going to keep working on it until we're done, basically. So that's the slow journaling. Another journaling project that I want to do is, I'm calling it a journal for all seasons. Now this will be a weekly video, but I will journal daily on a double spread in my journal that I've made. And this will be, there will be probably no stitching. It's nothing to do with stitching. This is a journal for self-care, for exploring thoughts and feelings and emotions, or if you prefer a more pragmatic approach of just documenting your daily life, or, you know, whatever. But for me, it's a commitment to journaling daily for the whole of the year. And I want to share that with you because that will keep me on track, and maybe some of you who've started before and stopped and want to make a commitment, maybe it'll help if we all do it together. So that being said, next Wednesday, the 15th of December, and is that the 15th? No. Anyway, next Wednesday, whenever that is, and the following Wednesday, which will be Christmas Day, the 18th of December, and then Christmas Day, the 25th, there will be a two-part series, a mini-series, showing how I made this big journal. I hope that's in frame. Now I made this from two old encyclopedia covers and all kinds of scraps of paper, and I won't show you inside, you'll have to watch next Wednesday. So it's Christmas time, I know we're all busy. If you want to make a journal and you're now thinking, oh, you haven't left us much time, Catherine, apologies for that, but part one, next Wednesday, is enough to build the structure of the journal, and then part two is just decorating and embellishing. So if you've got time to make part one, you know, just the structure, then you're ready to go January the 1st. You'll have a book to work in. If you don't have time, you could just fold yourself a signature, you know, watch the video next Wednesday and just fold up a signature for your first signature in your journal and start working in that, and then later when you've got time, after the festivities are over, you know, if you celebrate, then you can go ahead and make the journal and carry on. So I hope that's okay. So that the journaling project next year, the weekly journaling, will be on Mondays. On Mondays. And all my videos as of next year will be posted in the afternoon, my time, GMT, rather than the morning. And the reason for that is that will give me time in the day to work on the actual day on the video if I want to. Because at the moment, you know, for this year they've been going up at 9 AM my time, but that means I have to make them the day before because I don't have, you know, I get up early, but still. So don't panic if the videos don't come up, and this will be from next year. If the videos don't come up, you know, at the time you're thinking, and I haven't forgotten, I haven't made a mistake, hopefully, they're coming up in my afternoon. So I hope that's clear. So the weekly journal, this that I'm calling a journal for all seasons, there's a two-parter coming next Wednesday and the Wednesday after, how to make it, and then from the first Wednesday from the first Monday in January, we'll start the weekly journaling for self-care with the journal for all seasons. So that's the two journal projects. So the third project will be a stitching project. Yay, you're going if you're a stitcher and you're thinking, oh, this journaling's all very well, but, you know, we want to stitch. Now, all this year we've worked on the stitch journal, and we've had wonky Wednesdays when we've done random, you know, it started off with log cabins and then it went into all kinds of traditional quilt blocks done differently or done wonkily. If those videos will stay up, so if you're new here and you want to go back and work through the stitch journal, you know, for 2025, there's no reason why you can't just go back to January 2024's video and work your way through and make a stitch journal. And the Wonky Wednesdays will always be there for you to refer to as well. But next year's stitch project for me will be to create a comfort cloth or coverlet. If you're happy calling it a quilt, you call it a quilt. But I'm not calling it a quilt because it's not going to be done in the traditional quilt making way, where you piece a big top to what's called a quilt top, you know, a layer of pieces of fabric together, and then put wadding or batting if you prefer, and a backing, and then you've got this great big thing to hand quilt. No, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to create small pieces, do slow stitching on them, using all kinds of, I don't know yet, all kinds of different techniques, and then those pieces finished, stitched, quilted. I won't put wadding in. I just prefer to just work on 2 layers, but if you want to put wadding in, you know, you do you. And then those pieces will be joined together as I go, so at the end of the year I've got a large-ish cloth, I don't know what size it will be yet, to wrap myself in. So my themes for this quilt, or this cloth, will be telling my own story, and I'm making it for myself because my whole theme for next year is self-care. So it's a comfort cloth of sorts. It's a way of putting my own story into stitching, a kind of autobiographical cloth if you like, but that's not very catchy. If you want to stitch with me next year but you don't like the idea of making a large cloth, you will be able to, and I will suggest along the way, take elements of the work that we do and put that into other smaller projects like bags or pouches or cushions or, you know, whatever, little wall hangings. Or you can take little elements from it if you want to carry on keeping a weekly stitch journal and put those elements into a little stitch journal. But the focus for me will be on creating through the year a large cloth that at the end of the year I can wrap round myself and I can put myself into it. So it's kind of a journaling cloth, you know, it's just different ways of expressing ourselves and our emotions through our creativity. So that video, the slow cloth video, the story cloth, will be on Wednesday, so Wednesdays for stitching. So to recap, Mondays at 3 p.m, let's say GMT, will be the weekly journaling for all seasons. Wednesdays will be the story cloth, and then Fridays will either be Park Home Life or the in-between Fridays, for as long as it takes, will be the slow journaling. And all those videos will be at 3 p.m. GMT, like I said. So in terms of what you'll need, for this I don't need to talk about it because I've already, you know, there's already videos. For this you need either old book covers or just some cardboard. Excuse me, if you haven't got old book covers or you don't like to use old book covers, and then just some random papers. So if you're not someone that already has a big stack of papers, maybe you could start looking for, in here I've got packaging paper, I've got sketchbook paper, I've got some watercolour paper from a cheap watercolour pad that I had, just all different kinds of papers. And my pages are all about A4 because I had this great big book. If you don't want to make your own book, you could absolutely work in a bought journal, you know, or a sketchbook or something. So that's all you need for that really, and then I've embellished it with, you know, bits and bobs, but like I said, you can do that later. And for the stitching project, the story cloth or the comfort cloth, I've had a few people asking me already, I guess because you're used to when people say we're going to make a quilt, being told you need, you know, X yards of this and Y yards of that. We're not working like that. We're working in the slow stitch way. So you don't really, all you need to start with are a few scraps of cloth and a needle and some thread and maybe some applique pins. If you want your backing of your cloth when you've finished it to all be the same, then maybe you do need something like one soft old sheet that's nice to stitch through, and then you can tear pieces of that up to use for the backing, and then when we join it all together your backing will be all the same. I will work on all different pieces because I quite like my cloth to have a different backing. And yes, all my stitches are going to show on the back and so on. Again, if that's not something for you, I'll make suggestions later as to what you can do about that. So yeah, so you certainly don't need to rush out and buy anything. I'm not someone who's going to be recommending that you buy stuff. In fact, I've had a few requests lately for sponsorship of this and that, and I've had to politely decline because, you know, that's very much encouraging people to buy stuff. You wonder if they've actually watched any of my videos. Anyway, that's by the by. So I hope that all sounds okay. So Mondays will be the Journal for All Seasons, the weekly self-care journal. Wednesdays will be the story cloth, and Fridays will be either Park Home Life or the slow journaling. So thank you so much for watching and listening, and I hope you'll join me next year, whether you've been with me for this year or whether you're new here, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye bye.